I want to share with you an experience that I had, and since that day, I think it is 2001, since that day I've always believed that the worst family is better than no family. I repeat, the worst family is better than no family. This one, a younger man made me understand, and 23 years later, I still believe in that. It is better to have a bad family than not to have any family. But let me start from the word go. At the end, you'll understand. At the end of the long story, you'll understand why and how I came to that conclusion. Towards the end of the 90s, I developed a lymphoma on my left jaw, somewhere here. The face was so swollen that it was even bigger than a tennis ball. And there is nothing as bad as having any sickness near the teeth. The lymphoma was brought about because you see the jaw carries 16 and 16, that is 32 teeth. But my teeth are big, so they could not fit the size of. The last two teeth were struggling, just like in a crowded place, a place where you're supposed to sit 2 or 3, and then you are sitting 4 or 5, you squeeze. So the last teeth was somehow hanging, and the friction brought up that lymphoma swelling. I was operated twice at the same time. First of all, they had to remove 2 teeth towards the end. I don't have 2 teeth at the end. And then they had to cut off the flesh for lymphoma. And then I continued being treated. And then my sister, who is my follower, came all the way from Germany. She's notorious. She's married to a German man in a place called Bochum in Germany. And whenever there are hints that things are going my way, she takes the next flight to Kenya. But upon arriving, when she finds things are not that way, then she goes away. So stories had gone round that I was dying out of cancer. Actually, I had to undergo, first of all, a cancer tests. I was tested for cancer, and the cancer was absent. That is the first thing I was tested for. And then later it was discovered that it is lymphoma, which had swollen. And she had, typically of Luhya people, you become very important when you are dead. Suddenly she appeared, let me not go where she appeared, but as I was going through various tests, later on they came and removed some flesh there and teeth, two or so teeth. And then I was recuperating at home. And you see, typically of Luhya, she rushed to be near me so that when I die, she tells people during my funeral how she stood by me during my last days. And then why do you are staying at my 10 by 10 mabati dwelling somewhere near Riruta, Nyakenywa Road. It is not even 10 by 10. That one must have been 8 by 8. Because if I see the size of a bed and the extent, I think there were 2 extra feet. While we were there, she insisted that we go home to see. But I still had appointments, and I said, why can't I consult the doctor? We went and consulted the doctor, and the doctor wanted to know how many days I'd be away. And we said it is 3 or 4 days. Then I was given medication, and then I was told, I was given permission by the doctor to go home. We went home. Upon arrival home, you remember, my jaw had been sticked, and most of the time, if talking, I would talk 3 or at most 4 sentences. Most of the time, I used to use a biro and a paper to say whatever I wanted to say. There I was sick, went home, walked into a trap. Because all along things had been organized. And I can tell you how painful it was arguing. This time the argument was so heated that I was talking and tears was coming through my eyes. But I forced myself to talk because irrespective of the pain. Now, we arrived home. My father, now deceased, was accusing me. You can say accusing. He was telling me that he had had reports that I was a photographer at Uhuru Park. I told him, you mean you can waste time? Somebody comes and tells you, I'm in Nairobi with your son and your son, whatever. And you say, but the person came and told me. He told you that I'm a photographer at Uhuru Park. I said, yes. Do you know something? Yes. I've never been a photographer in Uhuru Park. First of all, Uhuru Park is, some of these places, they are syndicated. People who do that, they know each other. And if you are, people call them cartels. If you are not one of them, they'll make sure that they remove you through hooks or crooks. So I tried to remind him as a former provincial CID officer, don't you know such a thing? No, but somebody came and told me. I asked him, what is wrong with taking photograph for people? There's nothing wrong, but you see people are coming to tell me, okay, I cannot stop people coming from you, but you can stop them from coming, or if they come, you just listen to them and they go. And then I turned to him and said, Dad, do you know that time when that person who was telling you, because I never even wanted to know who it was, somebody came, sat with you here, told you that nimeungana na wakora and I'm a photographer in Uhuru Park. And you know that time I was being suspected to be cancer and I was bedridden. I used to lie on bed 24 hours a day. If whoever told you had any contacts with me, he would have told you that your son is dying of cancer in Nairobi. Said, but no. I told him, no, the person who brought the information is not bad, but it is the person who listened to that person, who entertained that person, and who is even, you can see my face is swelling, but you want to believe what somebody told you. If that person had any contacts with me, that person would have known that I was dying of cancer. But that person had no contact. So I do not even want to know who that person is, but it is you whom I blame for listening to that person. Because if that person had any contact with me, would have told you that your son is bedridden. Those days, 2001, I had no, it is 2001. I had no mobile phone, so there was no way I could communicate with anybody. Those are the days when you used to use people's, a friend, and then you use a friend's phone. But others who are better than me had their own, had the SIM cards which were placed in. I also joined that group because later I had a Bible, this Gideon Bible, and I would place my SIM card in that. So when I meet you, I say, can I place my SIM card in your phone? I don't know whether those things are still there, but it happened in 2001. So after that, one of the rarest occasions, I had to make my father promise me. I told him, look here, you are just listening to people who are telling you that I'm a Mukora photographing people in Uhuru Park, while I'm dying in a bed, and you don't know, and you're associating yourself. Then he saw the point, and for the first time in his life, I don't think there is any other occasion where he has apologized to me. He just said, okay, in future, anybody coming to tell me anything, I will not encourage him, or I will not listen to what he said. So with that, I went back to Nairobi, and I was really annoyed. I was swearing to myself that I'll never go back home. I was also swearing to myself that it is better for those chokoras who have no relatives. I went back to my Mabati 8 by 8 dwelling. And those days we used to have water problem. Water used to come past midnight, and when water was coming, we did not know what day the water would come. So we just checked the water every day, every day. Now this is where I noticed a certain tribe in Nyanza. Hey, those guys can die for each other. I can tell you, you can stay with somebody from that place for 20 years, but when you are in a heated argument with a stranger, and he understands that stranger comes from Nyamira, I tell you, he'll forget about your 20 years friendship and will side with that Nyamira person. So we used to have that issue where these people used to organize themselves. Of course, there were many on the plot. They organized themselves that you will be checking water every Monday, you will be checking water every Tuesday, and so on and so forth. And once one person gets water, he goes and collects all his tribe mates. He collects all his tribe mates. And if you go there, you find that they have surrounded the tap until all of them have drawn water enough for that, which is impossible, because by daytime, when the tap dries up, you'll find that even they themselves have not collected enough. So we used to have meetings. Plot meetings. What do we do with water? Someone would say, okay, I don't know, I've never seen that condition elsewhere, whereby if you're the first person who has discovered water, you collect as much water as you want until you finish, so that the second person goes that way. That was the condition that was there at that time. And we used to have meetings and say, why can't everybody collect 2 to 2? And we had so many plans. We say everybody collects 2 to 2, the whole 50 houses. No. Those who are aware collect 2 to 2, 2 to 2 until you finish and go. And then others go that way. But Kisses would surround that place and make sure that no other non-Kisi collects water until they all collect, which was impossible. So every time we would say, let us collect 2 to 2, and the person pushing for let us collect 2 to 2 would be, coincidentally, you'll find that when he or she, mostly he, when he comes and finds water there, and then you are the second or third and say, but didn't we have a meeting where we said that everybody collects 2 to 2? He said that is applicable in the next day water will come. But today we are still using this old system. So we used to have that, we used to do that. Then there was a day I got water. I was the first one to get water. So I placed there the four jerry cans. You know, you place there the 4 jerry cans. While you take the first one to the house and place there the second, by the time the second one is full, you are already back. And then I looked at a certain young man who was the second. So I told him, when I take this jerry can, place there yours 1, and then place there mine. So that we continued. I would, every time I was taking the 4, I would allow another person to collect his 2 and go, collect 2 and go, until I finished and went and slept. We stayed for some time. One of the young men who was there discovered water one day. Then he said, when I came, I was around the fourth or the fifth person. He said that we alternate with him because the day I had discovered, we alternated with everybody. That one made me a bit, popular. I became a bit popular on the plot. And then one day, just within a week, one day the gentleman called me to his place. We had a cup of tea. And here is the meat of the story. Here is the meat of the story. While we were having a cup of tea, he told me, Mzee, juzi, you went home. I said, yes. How did you find home? You cannot tell people at home I had it hell. You cannot tell people I wish I had no relatives. No. I just said how things were, how uncles received me, how aunts received me, how we Luhias welcome somebody with a... And imagine I was sick and everybody was bringing chicken and I could not eat. I would just take soup. I was talking so positively about home. Then he looked me into the eye. He said, now listen what he said. He said, you see, when you go home, you go and see your senior father, baba mkubwa, your junior father, baba mdogo, you say, what people you grew up with, whatever. I said, yes, and you talk. But I was still regretting. He told me, I'm called Mwangi. I don't know, but I remember his name was a Kikuyu name. But let us use Mwangi. I'm called Mwangi, but I have no relatives. I have no father. I have no brother. I have no sister. Nothing. The only relative I have is this woman you see here and our 2 children. I have no relatives. I don't know even if I'm a Kikuyu or anything. My mother threw me into a dustbin. And I grew up in the streets. I survived in the streets. I've never gone to school. I've never been to anywhere. I've never done anything. It is only that surviving. I survived until I became an adult, did the 2 or 3 things. Now the kibarua I do. Of course, I want to tell my viewer that the young man was never a criminal. He never acted in any criminal activities, but he used to do these small manual jobs, mjengo and so on. So he said that to me, the only relatives I have is my wife and her relatives and my 2 kids. My relationship here, I admire you people. You see, you have time. There are occasions like you are dying. Then you went and enjoyed the company of your relatives at home. Me, I have no relatives. My relatives is my wife, our kids, her relatives, and the landlord. The day I'll be unable to pay rent, I'll be in the streets again. So when you people go home, I really admire you. And ask God, these people, now look at you. You are from home, you are happy, you are rejuvenated, having seen your parents, having seen your relatives, and here I am. I have no parents, I have no relatives. I really admire that. Then from that day, that was 2001, I came and believed that the worst relatives are better than no relatives. If you have challenges with your relatives, enjoy their company, enjoy their relationship. Let them eat your head up. Let them disturb you as they want to. But know that out there are some people who have no relatives and admire you. In those days when I used to stay in a 8x8 house, relatives would visit you, people would come and see you, and he would always admire. You see, supposing I would have had such relatives visiting me, bringing present to me, having tea with me, and enjoying time with me. That's life.